Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Rasmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murtibeda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Savavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Mandukya page 177. We have seen Gaudapada establishing over and over again the fact that there is no origination of this world, of this cosmos, this universe. Anything that is a cause of something must undergo change. And all Upanishads establish unanimously that Brahman is a changeless principle. Therefore, Brahman cannot cause this universe. So that alone makes us reconsider whether this world is actually here or it's just apparently here, since it was not really created. We have several examples of and analogies of things that are available for experience, although they are not actually really there. No? So he has been hammering on this fact that there is no really creation. Therefore, the last verse where it says whether this universe is really there or appearing there, it does not matter. The Upanishads that in the beginning gives us the impression that there was a creation, they say that leaving the work for us, homework, to see if it is a seeming creation or a real, actual creation. So we have seen it, and Gaudapada has been using logic plus the scriptural pramana, the knowledge of the scriptures to make sure that his notions, they are in accordance to some few final statements in some Upanishads. It's not all through all Upanishads, because somehow we need both statements. We need the statement pointing to a creator and a creation, and the whole process of evolution, beginning from the three energies and so on. That is a creation within the order, the meteor order reality in which things are happening. But within the field of apparent phenomena. All phenomena is an appearance in consciousness. So what's the purpose of to establish that it is not an actual creation, but a seeming one? Since things are following a logic, intelligent design, a certain apparent purpose, everything seems like, how can a mirage be intelligent designed and serve certain purpose, And that is a more profound question or inquiry, because otherwise we're going to commit the same mistake of disregard the meteor universe, disregard the relationship between Jiva, Ishvara, and Jagata and its principles and laws. So we have to be very careful when we establish the apparent existence of the world, because it's not for the purpose of just forgetting about this world, because we cannot forget it. Duality appears every day when we become awaker. is to understand the fundamental nature of this world as myself, and understanding that this world is a reflection happening within my mind, which is not apart from consciousness. And then we can see duality, experience duality, but we won't take it as seriously as anymore. No? That famous statement, don't take things serious, don't take things personally. It's profound statement. So who can take life not really personally and seriously? No? The wise one does not take it personally, neither seriously. There is no contradiction between the statements of Gaudapada and the scripture knowledge. It's just that the Upanishads present some statements which are what sometimes we call uh, concession of ignorance, concession to ignorance, presenting a notion that can be understood first so that later on can be retracted, as we know. But even after we retract, we have to keep in mind those teachings that explains the way Maya Ishwara projects this world. Why? Because we live in this apparent world. Jiva is an apparent Jiva. Duality exists in this apparent reality. Huh? So we can never just go around saying nothing's here, nothing exists, I'm not here, and so on. We become dysfunctional. No? So we need to understand this apparent reality, which is available for transaction every time we are not in deep sleep or in Vikalpa Samadhi. No? And that takes us to the verse 28. For a non-existent one principle, for a non-existent one Brahman, for a non-existent one, birth is not at all possible, and neither apparently nor really, factually. The son of a barren woman is not born, either apparently or really. This example of the son of a barren woman is a very beautiful one, because it's something that is absolutely not possible. So who is the pregnant principle is supposedly to be Brahman. Brahman somehow gets pregnant and then produce the universe. But if Brahman is uh, is a barren, Brahman cannot really create anything, produce anything, because it is a karta, is bhokta, and so on. So there is no possibility that this world came from Brahman. But we experience the world, yes. So how is that possible? It's only possible through avidya, ignorance of the true nature of this mirage. Avidya is going to make it possible for certain creatures, such as ourselves, human jivas, to perceive the world in such a way that we attribute total reality to this world. Yeah? The non-apprehension of a true nature of the snake as a robe projects the snake, and the snake is experienced. No? If Brahman cannot be the cause of the universe, and the universe is experienced by all of wise, why can it not be said that something else is the cause? This is a good point. We have understood Brahman cannot really produce the world. And then, but yet this world was produced. What is the cause of this universe? We often say that it is Ishwara, Brahma, the creator, and then Brahma unfolds itself as the sustainer, Vishnu, and the destroyer, Shiva. this picture of the Trinity of God in the Vedic culture, which is very beautiful. So, what is the cause of this apparent universe that we experience? That cannot be said because Upanishads say that before creation, Brahman alone was there. So Brahman, we have already determined that it did not create it. No? And then there was something else that created. Okay, there was another principle besides Brahman, but also the scriptures points out that before the manifestation of the universe, there was only Brahman. So there was no Brahman did not have a neighbor that we could tell maybe the neighbor of Brahman has created the universe without us knowing. Huh? No, there was nothing else. Brahman alone was there. Therefore, there is nobody who has created this universe. If nobody created this universe, but the universe is experienced and known, yeah? The only conclusion that we come to is that there is not actually, really, the universe. Yeah? They are images taken or reflected in the mind, which is nothing or not apart from consciousness. Assuming nothing is something, why can it not be said that the world has come out of nothing? Oh, he's really into it. Huh? He say, okay, so, and then there is no other principle. There was no brother of Brahman or neighbor of Brahman. There was nothing but Brahman, as the scriptures say. And then so the word came from this principle called nothing. But out of nothing, only nothing can come because the effect should be in harmony with its cause. If the cause is emptiness and nothingness, how can we have an effect which is the plurality of the universe, diversity of forms and names? The world cannot originate from nothing. The world cannot originate from Brahman, something other than Brahman or nothing. The conclusion is that the world has not originated at all. There can never be a satisfactory explanation for any theory of origination or creation of the world, because any explanation will suffer from logical problems. But they serve a certain purpose at the beginning. When we present our theories of the creation, they are much more sophisticated than many other religious, spiritual circles. Our intellects, they are satisfied for a moment, for a time, and we develop trust and shraddha in the scripture. And then we start doing the work that's going to bring us to the maturity to look into this analysis that are going to reject the theory of creation of this universe because there is no creation. The origination theory is only a temporary one, except until the human intellect is prepared and mature. And once that happens, the origination theory should be discarded. It's perfect logic. From the non-existent cause, nothing can originate, either actually or apparently. From Brahman, the world can seemingly originate, but from nothing, even that's not possible. That's very nice. Huh? From nothing, you cannot even produce an apparent universe. But from Brahman, we can say, okay, from Brahman, it's maybe possible that a certain power projects something on Brahman that is taken to be Brahman, because it's so intimately interconnected with the screen of limitless consciousness that one sees the world, does not see Brahman, and then says, no, Brahman has created this world is apart from Brahman, because of the intimate connection between the world and the screen of Brahman, consciousness existence, on which the world is superimposed. The son of a woman who is incapable of giving birth can never be born. Therefore, Sat, existence, is not a cause, and the Sat is not a cause. Nothingness is not a cause. Existence itself is not a cause, because existence is changeless and it does not do anything and does not modify, divides, multiplies. Existence cannot create any namarupas. No other cause is there. The world has not originated, was never created. This is our final logical conclusion. But we see the world. So what are we seeing? Any appearance caused by Maya is seen. Is it possible? Gaudapada says it is possible for something to appear without actual origination or creation. And we know there are many examples to support this logic. There are many things that appear without having actually originated or being created. The dream world is the most powerful example. It's a universe that appears, is experienced. We transact in that world, but nobody has really created it. It's available for experience, but nobody has really done anything to create because it's just like a mirage. And we're going to see more of this example on this analysis in the next few verses. The next verse, 29, the mind spins a seeming duality in the awakened state through Maya's power. Just as the mind spins a seeming duality in the dream through the same powerful Maya. So we have this incredible power or energy or principle, Prakriti we call, that is capable of doing incredible shows. And we know that the mind somehow projects the dream world in the night. And then it said that it's the same thing in the waking state. The mind projects this world. But the mind does not project the world the same way it does in the dream state, because in the dream state, you are projecting your personal vasanas, your personal impressions, and it's very clearly observed that it's coming from the mind. So the mind spins as well duality in the awakening world through the power of mind, of Maya. So we have awakened state and the dream state again appearing. The dream state is projected by our personal vasanas, although there is nothing really personal in this phenomenal universe. But in the awakened state, the mind projects this universe, or the mind reflects this universe. So how does it project it in a way that it feels to be so tangible and solid and real is beyond our comprehension. And but we can infer that the mind alone can never produce this kind of solid, tangible reality. Otherwise, we would be able to create our own universe, our own Vyavaharika, solid. I say, now I'm going to create the world of my dream. Okay. Now everybody would create a solid world of one's very dream. No. So this, the power of Maya produced this universe in association with Ishwara and Jivas using the collective mind, the Hiranyagarbha, to project, to reflect this apparent universe that is experienced through the sense instruments of the jivas and perceived as deceiving as it could be, is perceived as real due to its solidity, tangibility, and so on. In the dream state, an apparent world of duality, diversity, is reported by the mind. So the mind is capturing that incredible, yeah, picture, image, yeah, of diversity, duality, plurality of objects in which there is an entity called dreamer, and then interacting with this dream world in which there are other jivas, human jivas, and there are other inert objects. So this happens in the mind. It appears to be projected by the mind or reflected in the mind. So when the mind perceives the dream object, the mind takes them to be real and takes them to have been really created. If we can create a dream world similarly, why cannot Brahman not create a waking world similarly? That's a good logic as well. Huh? So if the human mind can create a world, a universe, which is an appearance, why can't Brahman or Ishwara or Brahman, Ishwara, Maya create as well this world we experience, the awake state, which is also seeming world. In the same way, in the awakened state, also the plurality, the dualistic, the diversity of objects we call the world of, or the universe is reported by the mind to be a real one. You see, everything is happening in the mind. That's why we say the mind is that which is validating or attributing reality to everything. Everything is captured in the mind, and the mind is going to say this is real. The mind does that in the dream state. The mind says this is real, therefore I better run away from here. I run for my life now. No? So in the awake state, the same thing. The mind captures, no? Reports, perceives the waking world and responds to it as if it is real, equally real as the dream world is perceived by the dreamer. Turian, through our minds, gives reality to the waking world and the dream world. Consciousness and consciousness alone, shining in the mind, gives apparent reality to this awakening world as well, to the dream world. The mind, through its obsession born out of ignorance, reports that the waking world is Satyam. That's very nice. Vasanas, solid, hardwired vasanas, ignorance that attributes reality. The body mind is the only reality, the world is the only reality, and consciousness is just an illusion. All there is the mind, which is energy, and the physical world and the physical universe, and the dream world we don't even consider because it's just something crazy that we don't even try to understand. The mind, through its obsessions, with the one's likes and dislikes, desires and aversions. This is all due to self-ignorance. The mind reports that the awakened world is Satyam, absolute reality. The awakened state has a conditional reality, as we have seen over and over again. The awakened state in the awakened universe is a conditional reality. Why? Because it depends on the mind on a certain state, the so-called awakening state. The awake state has a conditional reality, and the awake state provides us with the experience, transaction, and utilitarian determination of utilitarian values for the object, ETU. Both, even the dream world also contains ETU. ETU is the characteristic of mithya. It's available for experience, transaction, and the objects appear to have utilitarian value. We see that state, which is not real, but it's there, and we are interacting for the sake of security, protection, and happiness in both of those apparent realities. Further, due to spiritual merits, punya, spiritual punya, one wants to interact in this awakening reality, which is the only reality that really provides us with the opportunity of self-knowledge and moksha. One wants to interact in this apparent reality, no longer for the sake of security and sensory pleasures and satisfactions, not even dharma for the sake of dharma, but one wants to interact in this apparent dreamlike mirage. One wants to interact with this unreal reality because it's only in the unreal reality we can extract the knowledge of one's reality, which is the reality of everything, because everything is happening in consciousness, and Jiva Atma is Paramatma. You see the importance of us not to look down into this mithya universe, because it's only here that we can understand what is real. The dream world also has ETU. The ETU is the characteristic of mithya. It's not the characteristic of Satya. Oh, I want to be Brahman, but I want to have ETU when I become Brahman. I become Brahman and I want to be able to experience duality, plurality, transact, having this incredible transcendental bliss and ecstasy at all times, because now I'm Brahman. And the scriptures say all over, all the scriptures, no, there is no ETU in Brahman. ETU, your non-dual nature. If there is only one Brahman without anything, so there is no duality. If there is no duality, there is no experiencer and experience. That's why we have these theories that Brahman gets bored and lonely by not having anything to experience. And then it says, okay, there is this principle called māyā, let it produce these projections. And then I will apparent emerge as the Atma Jiva, Jiva Atma, and I am going to experience plurality. And I'm no longer going to feel alone, lonely, because I have many other things to associate with. But the tragedy is that the Jiva Atma, although it has numberless associations, is feeling lonely all the time. Huh? Because nobody is going to produce that sense of fullness, completion, yeah? Because that is one's nature in Satya, in Brahman, the only reality. Therefore, there is nothing other than myself. I'm whole, full, and complete, and I am Ananda. Satya can never be experienced as Brahman in Brahman because I am Satya. And I can never split myself in two parts so that my part A experience my part B, and then my part B experience the part A, because the scripture says that Brahman is a whole, but it is a partless whole. Brahman can never experience, not even itself. When we say that every experience is Brahman or consciousness experience itself, is just to help us understand that no dualistic experience is possible without consciousness. As if consciousness is experience itself, but consciousness does not experience anything. Is the Jiva Atma who is experience those reflections, those projections of Namarupas we see the scope of consciousness. Consciousness is behind, and giving support so that the experience knowing entity can experience duality. Duality is only possible in Mitya. Mitya is not real, but if we want to know something, we need to be in Mitya. As Brahman, I'm beyond knowledge and ignorance. That's why the Yanni, once the Yanni gets this knowledge, is no longer fascinated or obsessed with knowing more because got the knowledge that resolves the problem because you know that which is beyond knowledge and ignorance. Now, otherwise, objective, scientific, philosophical, academic knowledge is always going to give us the impression that the more I know, the less I know because there is so much more to be known. But once you know your nature as free, limitless consciousness, and then the obsession with knowing things as a means to complete myself is over because you understood that my essential fundamental nature is already complete and full. Puna. Verse 30. If you guys have anything to say, just say whenever, okay? Just call my attention. The advaitam mind alone is seeming duality in the dream. There is no doubt. In the same way, the advaitam mind alone is the seeming duality in the awakening state. There is no doubt. So now he's presenting an interesting verse here. He's calling the advaitam mind. So what he means by advaitam mind is the mind behind the mind. Yeah. So what is the mind behind the mind? Is consciousness. So the true nature of the mind is consciousness. The mind, the true nature of the mind of the mind is advaitam because it's the only reality. The advaita mind alone is producing a seeming duality in the dream. So it's easy for us to see in the dream world that the mind is producing the dream world in which the experience entities they're chasing objects of experience. The experiencer and the experience are there. But then when in retrospective, when we look and we say the mind was alone, the only principle. There was no plurality, there was no duality. There was only advaitam mind, a mind without a second mind. Yeah? There is no doubt about that. Where is the plurality coming? The diversity, yeah? The duality that produced the experiencer in the dream state and the dream world to be experienced. Where is that? It's all contained in one mind. Oneness of the mind is there. In the same way, the advaitam mind alone is the seeming duality in the awakened state. So this advaitam mind alone is producing the duality in the awakened state. So what is the meaning of this advaitam mind? Is the fundamental all minds resolve themselves in consciousness. There is only one consciousness. The consciousness shines or reflects in all intellects, human intellects, producing even the non-human jivas. Jivas are going to experience plurality and duality. But it's all happening in consciousness. The Advaita mind alone is the seeming duality because the experiencer and the experienced in the awakened state, they are all resolved in what? In consciousness. It's all happening as a reflection or projection in consciousness, which is the mind of the mind. There is no doubt about that. The seeming duality we experience in dream is only the Advaita mind. The Advaita mind alone is appearing as the dualistic world in the dream, the experiencer and the experience. Similarly, in the awakened state, the apparent world does not exist separate from the mind of the observer that needs to be resolved in consciousness. Everything is happening in consciousness, through the mind, always. So similarly, in the waking state, the seeming world does not exist apart from the consciousness, which is the true nature of the observer. This world is available for everyone, but the dream world is available only for one mind. Why? Because this world is a reflection produced by all minds through the power of Maya. And then it's the same world appearing to everybody. Everybody is going to see, oh, but if Jesus here is a projection and it's a projection happening within the scope of the mind, why we see the same world? Okay, because this world was projected collectively to serve all minds. Right? And here it's beautifully explained that this world is available for everyone, but the dream world is available only for the individual mind. How can they be treated equally? Again, the mistake is thinking that thinking the dream from the standpoint of a waking state. The dream should be looked at from the standpoint of the dream state. Both the worlds are available for many minds in the respective world. There is no doubt about it. So it's saying that the dream world is available for all minds, but they are contained within one's individual vasanas, let's say. The other world is a collective phenomenon, which is it's produced by the entire collective human mind, you know? And then with the power of mind of Maya, this collective phenomenon is projected, and then we all see this world, but we're going to interpret this world differently, as we know. But the main point here is to see the reality is there in the dream world, and reality appears to be here in the waking world. In the waking world, we are more easily deceived, because the waking world is where we have our intellect, better structured and with more uh, capability to discern and determine things. In the dream, we are very lost in determining things. It appears in retrospective. I don't know. Maybe there are many of us are self-realized in the dream world, but we lose self-realization when we wake up. Who knows? Anything is possible. Yeah? We can never really judge the dream world when we are in the dream world and retain that judgment and bring it to the awakening world. But it seems that in the awakening world, we have our intellect better structured to get some knowledge, to determine things, discern and determine things, being self-knowledge, the principal knowledge to be gained in this apparent reality. The dream should be looked from the standpoint of the dreamer, and the waking world should be looked from the standpoint of the awaker. In both cases, both worlds seem to be real. Anything from you? Very insightful, this kind of parallels between the dream and the waking world. What is more real and what is more illusional?
Yeah, it is. And it's making me appreciate why you don't study Mandukya right off the bat, because it really shows you the perspective of the Yanni. So, and you can just slip into that perspective, and it really takes dropping a lot of your preconceptions and the Vyavaharika outlook of the world to appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's pure jnana, given to us by our greatest Mahatmas, gurus. received from the rishis to begin with, which received from the Shwara, which was inspired by Brahman, let's say. So, next verse. This duality consisting of all things and beings, inert things and sentient beings, is a projection of the mind. For on the cessation of the mind, duality is not at all there perceived. Verse 31st. So we would have to look at what is the cessation of the mind. Only deep sleep, as we know, or nirvikalpa samadhi. Cessation of the mind, duality is no longer perceived. Dualistic world experiencing the dream state and the awake state is consistent of plurality of objects of knowledge, experience, things and beings. Some inert things, inert beings, and sentient beings. This is all a projection of the mind. So the point here is why? Because on the cessation of the mind, everything disappears. When the mind ceases in deep sleep, the dream world, the awakened world, and all other dimensional worlds or universe, they cease in deep sleep when the mind is totally resolved. You know? So this gives us a hint that both words are coming from the mind on some particular state. Yeah? The mental condition of the mind is going to allow for this reflection of the dream world. And another mental condition of the mind is going to allow for another reflection, which is a reflection of the awakening world. We perceive both in the mind, but we have this hint that in certain condition called the cessation or suppression of the mind would be. Yeah? When the mind is suppressed through nirvikalpa samadhi or deep sleep, all duality disappears. Yeah? Duality is no longer perceived. It just gives an indication that both universe must be a byproduct or must be associated with the mind and its states, which is easy for us to understand. Right? Swamiji says that with the 30th verse, Gaudapada concludes the main discussion that the world origination is not a factual world or creation, but it's an appearance only, whether from the scripture angle and also from the logic angle. He has finished the topic of the origination of the jiva and the origination of the world. Logical negation of the jiva origination, scripture negation of the jiva origination, logical negation of the world origination, and the scriptural negation of the world origination. Not all scriptures. We have to look, find some hints, find some clues here and there to understand the implied meaning and the literal meaning, to understand that after all, the Upanishads, the scriptures are going to negate the origination or creation of this world as well, the Vyavaharika. Neither the jiva nor the world has been created. They are only appearance caused by Mr. Māyā. This is known as advaitam, the teaching of non-origination, non-creation of the universe. Hereafter, after we have done with these teachings, Gaudapada gets into sadhana and the results of sadhana. So that's good. Now we're gonna be now going to the topic of sadhana. That's going to neutralize the effects of Māyā and the palam, the results once we succeed in applying this knowledge. In verse 29, he said that the mind alone reports a real duality in the dream world, and the mind alone reports real duality in the waking world. The real duality is present to us by the mind in both worlds. This real duality, we say, no, 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 in the dream world, the mind does not report reality in the dream world. No, the mind in the awake, in the dream world, reports reality. That's why we run for our lives. This real duality, report by the mind in whatsoever state, is the cause of samsara. Attribution of reality to this superimposition or these names, colors, and forms. Attribution of reality to the names and forms of ornaments of gold, is the cause of attachment and samsara. That's why we face problems in the dream, and we face problems as well in the waking state. In deep sleep, there is no duality, no attachment, no desire, no fear, no aversion, no samsara. Gaudapada says that the ultimate culprit for samsara is our own mind. Ooh, this is stronger. So we need to take full responsibility, because it's our mind that is projecting and sustain this duality as such, due to ignorance of the true nature of this appearance. Do not blame anybody else. Do not blame anybody else's mind. You take full responsibility. Your mind is producing samsara because it keeps attributing reality to duality. No one is the cause of any of your problem. The problem is you, and the solution is you. Even if you run to God to get your problem solved, it will be solved temporarily only. That's very nice, huh? Unless we learn to tackle the mind, we can never solve the problem of samsara. The entire Vedanta is how to tackle the mind. When the mind is active, duality and samsara appears. When the mind is resolved such as in deep sleep or in samadhi or nirvikalpa samadhi, duality and samsara are gone. Let's edit it a little bit. The entire Vedanta is about how to tackle the mind. When the mind is active and under the spell of māyā or avidya, duality and samsara are created. When the mind is resolved in deep sleep and nirvikalpa samadhi, duality and samsara are gone, but they come back when the mind changes again. When the mind is resolved by the means of jnana, so duality remains, but it's not perceived as duality, but as an apparent duality. And that is a sort of resolution which is suggested by Vedanta. You cannot do anything about destroying duality, because you cannot live forever in deep sleep, neither in nirvikalpa samadhi, and you can never die forever. No, and then I die, I commit suicide, and then I die, and then I resolve the problem. The mind is not there, the world is not there. I'm in peace, final enough. No, because the mind survives the suicidal act. The mind is going to be there, and the mind is going to come back, and everything begins from where we left. So there is only one way to resolve this problem, is resolving the mind by the means of jnana. That resolution is not going to be temporary. When the mind is active, duality is there. When the mind is resolved, the samsara gone, either temporarily or definitely, as not canceling duality, but understanding its substratum, its essential intrinsic nature, which is myself as consciousness. The entire dualistic universe consisting of the moving and the non-moving is reported by the mind alone. It's all happening in the mind. Deep sleep, there is nothing. Yeah. Awakening, awake state and dream state, there is a lot of movement and a lot of objects. As long as the mind is there, the problem will continue. So it keeps giving the impression that we need to kill the mind. You know? That's why I'm presenting another alternative just right from the beginning, so that we don't go there with this idea of destroying the mind. As long as the mind continues, the problem will continue. Therefore, learn to handle the mind. Learn to educate the mind. Learn to neutralize the ignorance by which the mind perceives reality as duality or duality as reality. No? This is referred to here by the technical word amani bhava. How? That will be discussed in the next class. Oh, thanks God, we still have 10 minutes to look, see how it's going to be discussed. But now, in the next class, he is going to create the context. And there is always some nice statements there. Duality is the cause of samsara. Yeah? Duality is projected by the mind. It's projected due to ignorance or avidya. The understanding of the true nature of the universe as Brahman is the cause of moksha. How are you going to cause moksha? By understanding the substratum of the dualistic world. This is said in all Upanishads. As long as there is duality, there is fear and insecurity. Whenever there are two, there is difference, let's say. Any one of us know now, if there is two, there is different of opinions, there is room for disagreement, there is room for insecurity, because wherever there are two, and then there is, no, you are mine, I'm yours, and then there is attachment, and then with attachment, there is fear of losing something, there is insecurity, and there we go, suffering more samsara. All our problems exist due to the belief that duality is reality. It's the sense that time and space are real. In time, change is inevitable. Whenever there is change, birth, death, and loss are inevitable. Time and space, objects are there, plurality is there, and then there is time. Wherever there is time, there is change, and every change brings us to the death of whatsoever was born. Even the universe is born to die in a future time. This is also experientially proved in the awakened state, and then so we say, okay, how are we going to prove it? So we can see by analyzing our very experience. In the awakened state, there is duality, and there are issues of attachment, aversion, etc., etc. In the dream state, there is duality, and similarly, we have issues. In deep sleep state, duality is not there, and there is peace. There is no samsara. There is just a sense of peace and security and satisfaction in the Ananda Maya ocean. The first step in Vedanta is to understand that duality is the cause of samsara, and so duality has to be tackled. The mind has to be tackled. The mind that is attributing reality to duality is the fundamental problem. Duality cannot be physically destroyed, as we have said, and established by Viveka. And so we have to learn to tackle duality in some other way rather than destroy the mind and destroy the world. Another method must be there. An ingenious method. One cannot take the easy method of remaining in deep sleep forever. Karma will not allow one to sleep permanently. Very nice, huh? Even the great yogis have this problem. The mind is so profoundly resolved, but then an insect comes and bites the nose of the yogi, and that is karma. And the yogi is out of that state. And he experienced duality, and with the experience of duality, the yogi is going to experience a sense of limitation, because deep sleep and samadhi do not address the fundamental problem, which is ignorance in regards of the nature of both worlds, or all dualistic dimensions of experience. Karma will not allow it. Gaudapada suggests a method to tackle the mind that produces duality. Ultimately, the method is only one, but the route taken is different. In awakening and dream, we experience duality. Mind is reporting the mind, the duality all the time. The active mind is reporting duality in the awakening, and it is semi-active during the dream state. The resolution of the mind is not reporting duality in the deep sleep state. The mind that reports duality is the problem. Now we have refined the problem, or we have defined the problem, or refined the problem. First, it was said that duality is the cause of samsara. The refinement, no. The refined statement is not that duality is the problem, the mind is the problem. The mind believing that duality is reality. Therefore, one should learn to tackle the mind. The mind reporting duality as reality. This tackling of the mind is what Gaudapada called amanibhava. Converting the problematic mind in a non-problematic mind is called amanibhava. Beautifully said. I love this concept, this expression, problematic mind and a no problematic mind. Why? The mind cannot be destroyed. It could, but it's a pit, it would be a pit to destroy the mind. Such a beautiful instrument for self-knowledge. So the mind has to be converted into a non-problematic mind. Mind must be resolved by the means of jnana. So the dualities reflect, but it does not contain that magnetic push and pull of desires and aversions in regards to the diversity of objects appearing to the mind. The problem is not the namarupas being superimposed, but the effects of those some namarupas in the mind. If the mind is under the spell of ignorance, one's likes and dislikes are going to be activated, and the mind is going to experience mental disturbance, trying to avoid those objects of rejection or adversity or aversion, and try to gain and retain the objects of desire. It's just a never-ending problem. That is only possible by the means of jnana, understanding the true nature of the mind as the self, which is already full, whole, and complete. Therefore, the true nature of the mind does not have compelling or binding desires for anything. The mind becomes a non-problematic mind. It at the most has some preference, and such preference are totally in harmony with Dharma. And they are not binding meaning to say, if preferences are not met, the mind which was converting a non-problematic mind is not make any problem in respect to that. The entire dual world of moving and non-moving objects, there are some objects that do not move, is reported by the mind in all mental states except the nirvikalpa samadhi and deep sleep state. When the mind becomes no mind, that's when the mind is stuck out. There is no reporting of duality. This is what that needs to be done. How will we do that? Because people say, oh, no mind. That's, I mean, I knew that was all about no mind. No mind, no problem. Yeah. So how are we going to make the mind to become a no mind? Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, expression is by never minding anything. Yeah. Things happen and the mind says, so what? Yeah. The mind under the spell of ignorance is going to say, what? The mind was converted into a non-problematic mind, and then it say, so what? I don't mind. No? So when the mind becomes I don't mind, and then the mind was converted into a non-problematic mind. Duality is going to be there, but there will not be any attribution of reality for duality. It's all about that. It's all about that. That's what allows us this sense of equanimity in regards to all possible parameters or experience of life or circumstance. That's what allows us to accept the mortality of the physical body with gratitude and elegance. No? The mind was converted into a non-problematic mind, a wise mind. Mind is under the influence of wisdom, not ignorance. Wisdom is to know that all there is Brahman, and all duality is just such as a mirage, such as a superimposition of many ornaments of gold in that which is only gold, many waves in the ocean on that which fundamentally is the ocean, and furthermore only water. How are we going to do that? We're going to have to wait until our next class this coming Friday, right? Because tomorrow we're going to make a visit to not Gaudapada, but to Krishna Guru to see what he has to say. Anything from you guys?
I was thinking when you were unfolding that last passage, I was thinking about wordless attention. So attention to what's actually going on without any reporting in the mind, without any words going off in the mind. This is, and the other thing which came to me was cloudless sky, and thoughts are just like, and likes and dislikes are just like the clouds passing through the cloudless sky. But yeah, that's it really.
Yeah, those pointers we find in many spiritual circles. The first one you were saying is the mind that sees things without making any commentary about things, more or less on those lines, right? You see things without any commentary. That is a kind of samadhi as well. And the mind is going to see things, and if it is in a normal awakening state, the mind is going to make a very subtle comment. Oh, look at this, look at that, But the mind is not going to be disturbed by attraction and repulsion. That's the main thing, But if you want in this samadhi, the mind is seeing things, but is seeing only Ishvara, or one is seeing and seeing only Brahman. Those are profound states of samadhi or profound meditation. You are just seeing Ishvara and Brahman in everything, and that's good. Other than that, is just a certain state that some people report. People who did not get in contact with the script sometimes report that, oh no, I was there, but I was not seeing anything, and so there's no problem in seeing things through. I mean, every time we see things, we perceive things, we perceive through the five senses. Perceiving is not a problem. What is a problem? What that perception does to the state of mind. If the mind is going to be affected, experiencing attraction and repulsion, and then it means that the self-knowledge, atmayana, is not firm yet. You understand? And we need this knowledge to be clear and firm and available, so that the mind does not fall for any attraction or repulsion in regards to that which we perceive. And the sense, or like Krishna said, the sense organs are going to connect its respective objects, so leave it alone. Accept it, Arjuna. Just that's how it is. But we need to understand certain things so that we neutralize this problem, which is the experience of attraction and the repulsion that cause samsara. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Did the audio remain good up to the end?
It was great throughout. No problem.
Okay. Thank you. We meet again with Lord Krishna. Namaste.
Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you.